Hi, just back for the second part of this video. So I was discussing Crowley's Aiwass, this being, and how I'm suggesting that he was a positive being for humanity and for its own um, call them race. You know, these beings are actually kind of physically up there on the moon, but you have the dark force that Steiner mentions, Ahriman. Yeah, I think I said that right. I'm not too bothered. I'm so bad with words. If I mispronounce them, but you get the point. Um, is so Aiwass is trying to bond the Old Moon Evolution, as I said, with his race to bridge the gap. Um, but Araman, I don't think he wants that. I have a theory that this Aramanic force could be this other negative force within the Luciferic beings. It's still one of them. Maybe, probably Steiner has covered that, and he said that's actually true. So this is nothing new. But I don't know. Certainly don't know everything about Steiner. Really, it's a tip of the iceberg for me. But my theory is that perhaps this being is part of the negative aspect to the moon and these moon beings. Now, going back to Thomas's recent Von video discussing the moon and the current attempt to go back there, right? Um, and how it's they even if it's unconscious, there's no conscious magical ritual here, or it's the wrong type. These people, there's no Jack Parson, and there's no L. Ron Hubbard here, so not good, I think. And maybe because Thomas Sheridan said the moon's a haunted planet. This haunted, and this kind of made the hair stand on the back of my neck. And he said there's something on the dark side that whatever forces are there don't want us meddling in. Now, it could be for our own good. It could be that it would be too much for us. It would fry our, brains and fry our being if we understood that this moon is intimately connected to the death and life process and reincarnation, that we're going to come here when we die, and that's when we need to be here. We don't need to put nuts and bolts rockets and just show up and start digging around, because it's not our time. If we start doing that, it's going to mess things up. So perhaps these beings are saying this is for your own benefit. This is not good for you, and it's not good for us. So please, can you stay away? Maybe that's what it was. Or it could be that we've, again, as I said, there's no Parson and L. Ron Hubbard, so you have to communicate with these beings before you want to show up. You can't just show up, otherwise they'll reject you. They won't allow it, no matter how good your technology is. It's not just about technology. Technology is 50% of it. Maybe technology is 25% of it. If you have the basics, you have to make the ritual, and you have to make contact with them before you make contact, so that you're welcomed there. They're going to give you the energy boost and the vibrational adjustments that you need within your biology and in your technology to get you there safely and back. Maybe that's what it is. But I was looking more into Steiner's Ahriman, and this Ahrimanic force is acting on the unconscious impulses of human beings. So he's unconscious to these astral forces, as Steiner says here. And I think that Ahriman is relying on humans to be unconscious, to trap us into the material plane for good. I think Steiner's right. Unlike the Moonchild that could reunite. Another thing is that caught my attention is Steiner's mentioning all these soulless types that he noticed in his lectures or classrooms that have no soul. They almost have a very primitive animal-like soul. Maybe they are the consequences of Ahriman. These are the types of beings that he wants to bring in this world, right? So it's almost like there's a spiritual battle of sides going on, is what I'm suggesting. Yeah, this is interesting. Right on the topic of Ahriman again. Apparently, according to Steiner, attempts were made by occultists to avert the lapse into materialism. And this was the age of mediumship, say 100 years ago or so, in the Victorian age. But there was a big movement in materialism, and Steiner is saying that the Ahrimanic forces were behind that, these spiritual forces, to lock us into materialism, and it was infiltrating a lot of spiritual lodges and trying to get a materialist spin to kind of, take the oomph and power out of them. So going back to Crowley's Moonchild book, I'm suggesting this same thing. There's like a battle between these dark and light magicians. The magicians of Aiwass, potentially, and the magicians of Ahriman, potentially, Okay. What have we got here? We have, more on Ahriman, the transition from Luciferic to Ahramic. So this is more Steiner. So the Luciferic forces exist independent on human beings, just as forces in nature do the same. Okay. So demons, elementals, these powers are active in nature forces as well as active in us. But its effects on humans differ as they did in the past, as I've been talking about. And so, in the past, I think I've covered this, but Steiner says here, man would look at a phenomenon of nature and say elemental spirits are at work in there, and just be okay with that. But the conscious mind, the conscious mind could relate to this. That's what I'm saying. There wasn't this schism. Yet today, enlightened minds call that superstitious. In Steiner's own words, and I've underlined this, it says, they have no idea that demonic spirits are active in the whole world of technology created by the human race. Nor will they find it easy to see, as those powers are acting on the will. And he says the will is asleep. They work on an unconscious level, as I was talking about. They're taking hold of the unconscious mind. So in the past, humans had some awareness of demonic powers. Today, demonic powers are stirring in all products of technology. And this is Steiner talking decades ago, right? They are active on an unconscious level, yet people will say, people would call that superstitious to say that demonic spirits are active in the machines that we produce, but he's saying they actually are. But the spirits that were proceeding over man in olden times were Luciferic in nature. But going back to Ahriman, he says the spirits are active in all machines and technology. These Ahrimanic spirits, that is. So we are surrounded by an Ahrimanic world that's growing completely dependent of us. And so, as I was saying, this is why Parsons and Hubbard, they thought maybe this Moonchild ritual was so important because they were actually going against the materialists, which I find interesting, because they knew the consequences of World War I, let's say, with by ignoring these higher forces, right? So yeah, what has World War One got in common with uh, the moon landings is technology. Technology appeared in World War One, but there was no spiritual dimension, and this is what happened. We slaughtered one another. So they were smart, and they realised that if they were to use a technology to explore space, they need to contact these beings, so that they don't cause destruction, you know, to themselves and to the universe, perhaps. Okay. So going back to my other notes here. Yeah. So are there two sides with these entities? Do you have the good guys and the bad guys, kind of like in Star Wars? I do wonder. Um, is Aos existing on the moon, and does he have his subjects, his minions, like not slaves, but beings that side with him? And this is just a theory. And then you have the beings that have been come under pressure to submit to Ahriman, and kind of like in the film Watership Down. If you haven't seen that, you have the rabbits, and you have a group of them that want freedom and want to exist kind of freely, like rabbits should, and then you have this other group that are under control by this psychopath called Colonel Woundwort or something, and he's created these minions of soldiers with orders and structure, and he wants to just kind of like Islam. He wants to take over the whole rabbit kingdom, right? Is that what's going on with these moon beings? Is Ahriman anti-human? He hates humans, and because of this schism, it's kind of made him hate us, made him psychopathic towards us, turned him into a psychopath because there's no communication, and he just wants to drag us to the ground and kill us with our own intellect and destroy us with the thing that makes us unique and different perhaps to them, this ability to have this organic mind and invent stuff on this very, very dense physical plane. I'm not saying they can't, but our level maybe is unique, and he's jealous of that, and so he wants to destroy us with our own gift. And the other character, Crowley's one, sorry, Aos, wants to counter that, and he wants to connect us with the spiritual again, with and the the understanding that we have a soul and that we're eternal. And maybe he doesn't believe in the technology. I don't know. Maybe because Steiner was saying a lot of these Luciferic beings, they believe that the intellect, I believe he was saying, is evil, or it's no good for us. We're not going to. They don't want us pursuing that evolution. They want us pursuing a spiritual one. But I think what Steiner was hinting is that we need to do both, and we need to bridge the gap. Or maybe Aos wants to bridge the gap, but he certainly wants to reconnect us. This is my theory. Because yeah, maybe you cannot, as I was saying, make a trek to the moon without invoking magic and spirituality, and it just simply won't work. It's as soon as you step out of the atmosphere, you're in a haunted domain with disincarnated spirits. It's the opposite of physical in a way, even though it does have some kind of physicality. So this was the ultimate act, maybe, of achieving a bond between the physical, the intellect, and the spiritual. Do you see this very amazing what they did? They made the two. They put technology with spirituality together and put a man on the moon, and it held and it worked. And then when like the theory, I can't believe they didn't put a man on the moon. They couldn't have done that with that. When you look at some of the little craft that they actually kind of landed on it, looked like covered in tin foil and stuff, and the suits wouldn't work. But the technology could have just been a 25% of it. This other 75 was the spiritual ritual and bonding with these beings and the Moonchild. It's almost like we went up there and explored and saw, and then the Moonchild is their influence down there, but it was done consensually. Because maybe if you land there without saying anything, you won't survive. You'll get killed, or you get shot down. You'll get abducted. That's maybe what it is like. Because these astronauts, I mean, I assume they weren't trained in the occult or anything like that. By what Thomas Sheridan was saying, they were so unprepared when they went there, and maybe they came in contact with all of this and realised that they were there because of these rituals. Otherwise, they would have been killed, because you can't just come up there and walk around like you own the place, because it's seriously occupied by another civilization of beings that do have a physicality to them. So you can't go up there with technology. You can have the best technology ever, so you can have it 1,000 times better than what was used in the original moon landings. It wouldn't work without any form of magic and any communication with the Luciferic beings up there. Another thing, just remember, going back to the days of mediumship and seances and stuff like that. Remember how they people were saying how radio, TV were originally used to try and contact the dead and the other side, and what did Steiner say about the dead? That you enter in communion with these old moon beings, for a period of time when you leave this body. Another thing he said was that materialists, they were trying to edge their way in to the mediums and trying to destroy the knowledge of reincarnation, maybe with a Christian slant. And again, the whole reincarnation thing, I think, connects with the moon matrix and the earth matrix. It's essential. So they were trying to destroy that knowledge. I could see why, if it was coming under the influence of the Ahrimanic forces. So kind of like Star Wars, maybe, is ours the good guy trying to overcome Ahriman. Remember how, Thomas Sheridan said they always look like the grey alien, so, Another thing, David Icke, in his work, he talks about the schism. I use that word, and I think I got it from him, which resulted in this split of consciousness, and then it resulted in this kind of, this psychopathic force, which he says has a reptilian type appearance. I think, it could be the same type of thing that I'm talking about with what Steiner was talking about with the Ahrimanic influences and the Luciferic ones. So there could be two factions involved. I'm trying to think of films that reflect this. I can call them kind of Moonchild type films. And the one that comes to mind is The Labyrinth with David Bowie. And just a powerful film. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've probably seen it. It's got that weird, powerful vibe to it. And you have Jareth, the Goblin King, and you go back to this abduction thing. He abducts the baby brother of the character Sarah, and he wants the baby as one of his minions to be a goblin, and he says says to her she's got 13 hours to find him and get him, otherwise he's going to become one of his kind. So it's almost like a forced kind of Moonchild thing he's doing here. That's the vibe I get from it. And also he gets obsessed with her and kind of falls in love with her, doesn't he, at the same time. And the song towards the end, Within You, he's realised, I think it's towards the end, he's saying, live without your sunlight, love without your heartbeat, and I can't live within you. And I think he's realizing that he can't make that kind of bond because it's been forced, you know. Um, and another thing I was thinking, beings like this, maybe the whole um, invasion of a free will and abduction thing. These beings, they, as I think I said before, in native fairy veneration, they may not have the advanced emotions that we have as humans. They haven't evolved them yet, so they're ignorant to certain things. They're ignorant to that, so they might not think abduction and snatching us out of our bodies and, you know, souls out of their bodies and taking us places, trying to show us stuff, you know, impregnating and raping us is anything bad. Because they've never been human and they never felt that. So that's just another thing I want to add. Yeah, many other films, kind of are about some kind of being that wants to possess and be in the flesh again. You know, Ghostbusters 2. There was that one where the child baby was, and some entity wanted to possess him, so that he had a body, and then lots and lots of others. I can't think off the top of my head, but I hope that's interesting, and yeah, hope it makes you think. Please leave a comment. I think that's everything, but I make these videos and then I think, oh God, I had a few other bits and pieces to say, and it kind of annoys me. But I can always cover that in the comments and leave notes if I remember anything. But hope you liked the video. Hope you found it thought provoking, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, cheers. Thank you. Bye.